All right, let's go ahead and jump into looking over the draft and seeing whose teams we like the best. All right, team one, I've already spoken pretty highly about. When you go Chase, JSN, Smith, Worthy, you've got 3 wide receivers and a flex in PPR. That's all I'm looking to do is really get a 4-pack. And they did that. They did it while having a pretty solid RB1, at least in terms of volume. Montgomery is the same thing. TD volume, if there's regression there, that could hurt you. But Trey Benson, Shipley, and Eckler's not a pick that I think you needed to make because of having the safety of Montgomery. But if Montgomery is suddenly playing 20% of snaps and it's all about Jahmyr Gibbs, then Eckler is actually a really savvy play, especially if Brian Robinson gets traded. Burrow is a great pick where you drafted him. Well, I shouldn't say great pick. He's a very good pick, though. He's probably the right pick because you have Jamar Chase. And I do think that is a powerful stack. And you took Pitts late. That's an A draft. I think you nailed it. And it's a playoff team and maybe the league winner from the 1-1. Team 2, Lamb, Hunter, Addison, Igbuka, Downs. I look at the receivers first. And I listed Downs because you may not know about Igbuka week 1. But if Igbuka goes, 5 for 110 and 2, we're going to be going. And same thing with Travis Hunter. Like, you got questions at receiver for sure week 1 because Addison's not going to play. You needed a 6th receiver, Aiden, because of the suspension to Addison. But otherwise, I like the names you did draft. I like Tyler Warren. I don't love your running backs on your bench, but Scatterboo, I like I said, acceptable pick where you took him. Taylor, Ken Walker, fine starting 2, and Allen is a good quarterback. So it's like a B draft with a chance to blow everybody away if Hunter and Igbuka hit like you're hoping they do as rookies. Certainly a possibility to make the playoffs, though. I like the players. Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Sutton, Tillman, Douglas. Not enough power at receiver for me from Team 3 here. Bucky Irving, Kamara, Jones, Brian Robinson. It just feels like RB for the sake of RB, and I don't think it's quite a match with PPR. Like I don't know about the Brian Robinson pick. There's other teams that maybe could have used Brian Robinson in round 8 or 9, but I don't think yours needed it, Doyle. And so that's going to knock down a little bit. But it's a solid team, but it's more of a C draft for me. Not sure if it's a playoff team. Bijan and Jacobs, one of our 2 double hero builds. To back that up, you went Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, George Pickens. And then it's Jennings, Bateman, Kyle Williams, Josh Palmer. I mean, you took a ton of receivers. Not for as many as you took, though, I feel like it's a lot of bench fodder. Guys that you're not really going to be confident to plug in, and guys that aren't necessarily going to rise above their station. Bateman and Josh Palmer kind of know what they are. I would have taken more Kyle Williams types around Kyle Williams, more rookies, more youth with my late receiver picks, because I think you've just given yourself lineup headaches with that flex is all that you've done there. I like the running backs, though, and like ETN was a value. Caleb Johnson, you could afford to pick him because you took those 3 receivers up there. I'm going C+, I think, with that team. You push quarterback, and you could certainly have afforded to. C+, but man, if those 2 running backs are getting 25 touches a week, it's going to be way better than a C+. So, like, playoff capable for Team 4. Team 5, we're going A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Debo, Darnell Mooney, Kirk, Besh. I like the Kirk pick because I'm not sure if Mooney is going to be healthy, if Debo is going to be reliable. And so that's a case where I think it's okay to have Kirk on your bench. And Besh is a rookie, so that's the archetype I'm looking for there. Running back, I love Gibbs, of course. Chuba Hubbard, Mixon, Javonte, Chubb. I just don't like the running back picks, and I don't think you've got a lot. And again, last year I didn't like those same picks, and pretty much all of them would have hit because they were old guys that, just never did get hurt. And so even though I don't really like the roster as much because of that, I was wrong about this last year. So it's more of a C to C+ for me. But again, it's just for how kind of meh I am about the back end of your receiving core, I should like the running backs more than I do in order to give it a more favorable grade. And so that's the reason it's more of a C draft for me. Amon-Ra, McConkey, Higgins, J-Mo, Golden, Mims, and then Tesla. Really good wide receiving core. I like that draft. You pushed running back, but you were able to get Breece Hall with your first one. And again, we think of him as yucky right now for whatever reason in the fantasy community. If Breece Hall ends up smashing, this is going to be a really solid team. And you stacked Amon-Ra with Goff, so it made sense of who you drafted at quarterback. I like the Loveland pick at tight end. I like that you didn't take a second one. You're just going to see it from Loveland week 1, And if at some point it doesn't work out, that could be dragging you down a little bit. But you could drop Roschon Johnson, you could drop Tesla, you could drop Krosky Merritt if it doesn't pan out for those players, and pick up a tight end while you wait for Loveland if you have to. Swift as an RB2 is underwhelming to me, but this is a really solid team. B- and maybe more of a just standard B. I don't really have anything negative to say about that draft. It's a good team. Let's identify my own team. London, Tetero, McMillan, Flowers, Shakir, Burden. And then I get Rashee Rice. Like, I might have 3 wide receiver ones on this team, so I really like that. But you know what? I think so does the dad. They've got 3, maybe 4 wide receiver ones. But I've got Saquon, who's going to have to be better than Kyren Williams if my team's going to beat that team. I also need Trey McBride to outpace Kyle Pitts by a lot because I spent a 3rd-round pick on him. Would I like my team better with maybe another stud receiver in round 3? Who could or Jaden Daniels in round 3? Not really, because I love the Mahomes pick where I got him. Like Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson might have been the play there, or Marvin Harrison. Yeah, I mean, in round 3 to really feel like I loaded up, because Kyle Pitts is a player that, like, these late tight ends, hell, Kelsey was going late. I think you can push tight end. Like, doing this draft, I don't mind having McBride. And I did say he'll get touchdown regression positively. I don't know if I'm convinced that he was the right pick. I think if I'm gonna go that route, it's probably Jaden Daniels next time. But again, getting Mahomes as late as I did, this will never happen in a real thing. So I think I was justified there. Running back 2 is really the only weakness of this roster. I love my receivers. I think I've got the 2nd best receiving core in the league. I got the 2nd best tight end. I've got a top 5 running back. I've got a quarterback who is well worth what I paid for him. I need Charbonnet, Jaden Blue, Garendo, or Woody Marks to turn into an RB2. But that's kind of the way I like to play it, because if those receivers that I have pan out from my bench, I will be able to trade for an RB2. I will trade Charbonnet with Shakir if he pops, or Luther Burden if he pops, or Flowers. Charbonnet and Flowers for, by week 5, I will have been able to avoid all the people who spent up for running backs and then they got injured in the first month. And then the guys that are still left standing, I'll be able to potentially identify a running back and trade them, if not 2 for 1, 2 for 2, where I'm improving at running back and taking a hit at receiver. So I like my team. Grade, I'll give it a B+. It's actually probably a B. Like, it's a B+ for what I want to do. Most people would go, Brenden, your 2nd running back is Charbonnet. Give yourself a little bit of give yourself some grief there, because that's not okay. It is for me in the way that I like to play, though. I do not mind it one bit. So that's why I would say B+ in what I tried to do. But I'm looking at the receivers going, there's some names that aren't on this team that usually are if I'm drafting this many receivers in the middle. So I need to understand that, when there's sharp drafters, you're gonna have to be ready to play. All right, 5 teams left to talk about. Let's finish this up and go home. Neighbors, McLaurin, Olave, Myers, Godwin. I just don't know about Godwin. If I'm wrong on, it's another guy that I just go, if I'm wrong on him, then I am, and other people will enjoy it, but I'm not tempted to draft him. It's tough to go early quarterback and early tight end, but if you're going to do it, these are the 2 that I want to do it with, Bowers and Daniels. It's a 0 RB build, and I hate James Conner. I love James Conner. I'm not drafting any of him. Tracy, I think, was a really solid pick. Dobbins, Spears, Algier. Yeah, I think you forced yourself, Caleb, into some RB stuff that I'm not fond of, and I should like your receivers better for the build. If you had taken Rice from me instead of going Conner, or actually, I'm sorry, you were drafting after me that round. Like, if you go Waddle instead of Conner, I feel better about your team, because I'm just not sure. But you had to go Conner because you really pushed running back. But it's you got players I really like, so I can't ignore it. I mean, wide receiver 1, tight end, and quarterback is a studly room right there. I'll give it a B. That's going to be fringe playoff. McCaffrey, Achane. I'm excited to look at this team. Adams, Judy, Diggs, Coleman, Ayuk, Hollywood. I just think that the receivers are a little bit old, and there's a lot of risk in, like, Diggs and Adams and Ayuk, who we know is out for 6 weeks, on the same team. But it could pan out because the running backs are really good. Although Achane's currently hurt, McCaffrey tends to get hurt. But I like what you did with Ray Davis on the bench. Ayuk is somebody you can put in an IR spot. So that's the one thing that actually makes sense about a guy like Ayuk. and you can do this with Isaiah Likely if he's going to be out. Use your IR slot to your advantage. I think that's a fine draft. I'll give it a B. I just would have gone different receivers to really make it sing. I think there was an opportunity that was missed there a little bit for the way I like to draft. This is a really good team. Nico Collins, Waddle, Odunze, Pearsall, Higgins, Slayton. I don't know about Slayton, but I like the receivers before that. Caleb and Evan Ingram, you drafted a quarterback tight end combo late that I think is going to be more than serviceable, and I love the running backs. B+ for me, playoff team from Lil Colt. BK Langston goes with Henry, Cook. Well, let's go receivers first, like I normally do. Puka Nacua, Evans, Cooper Kupp, Jaden Reed, Harris, Pat Bryant, Torrey Horton. Feels like there should be an L in there somewhere, and there's not. Evans and Kupp is a lot of old to be relying upon. And Henry. And Puka, not because of age, but because of the Stafford stuff. There's a lot of risk here. This is a very boom-bust team. Cook, I think, is solid. RJ Harvey, I mean, if you're relying upon him to play early for you, there could be risk in that if he's down the depth chart. Tony Pollard. This is a tough one. I'll go C+, but I also think there's a room for it to have been. I mean, we could be really talking about it as a great draft. And I just am not 100% sure. That's the most polarizing draft for me, because if you get some good injury luck to bounce your way, it is going to be a really tough team to beat. But I just think there's too much risk there. Wrapping it up with Austin's draft, he goes Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison, Ridley, Shaheed, Leggett, and is that Alec Aomanor? I believe so. Genti, Pacheco, Judkins, Mason, Tootin. That's a really interesting room for what you spent. And a couple of NFC Wests at the onesie positions with Kyler and Kittle. It's a good team. High B, maybe even a B+ team. Probably a playoff team. Which I said that about maybe 5 teams, and so there's some room there. That's a top half draft, though, from Austin. I had fun with this one. This was a very interesting room. I think it was our toughest room yet, my opinion. What do you guys think? Toughest room yet? Really, really competitive draft, and I think it's the kind of thing that gets you ready for your league. I think that's going to wrap, though, here. It's just after 11 p.m. Central Time as we are recording this live stream, and so I think I'm going to call it for the night. If you'd be so kind, hit the like button before you get out of here, and join us. We're going to continue to do as many of these as we can as draft season continues to march on. I'll take a look at any of the comments here. Keaton wants me to do from the 1.8 draft spot. Keaton, hit subscribe to the channel, my brother, and I will work to do 1.8 maybe with the next mock that I do. I've done it, I think, before, but it might not have been with a full room. It is a different beast when you've got a full draft room like this. Willie says, love the quarterback wide receiver stack. It's always great if you can do it. Aiden says that Team 6, though, forced the Goff stack. Don't like taking him there when Dak went undrafted. Yeah, but, I think that I don't know if Dak is better than Goff. I imagine Goff scored more points last year. I think the point, though, is, and I'll try to highlight Team 6 here that we're talking about. I think the point is that if you're going to spend a round 8 pick on a quarterback, when all the value that exists there, like an undrafted Goff, an undrafted Dak Prescott, exists later, Goff is not really an upside play because he doesn't run the ball. But in the same round, I took Mahomes. So I think there's some merit to the Goff pick, especially to stack with Amon-Ra. That is fun when you have that elite pass catcher stacked with a quarterback who throws a ton. And I think it's even better if you're talking about a 6-point pass TD league. Willie says he wants to draft against me one-on-one. Yeah, we can do some best ball. Hey, Willie, first of all, at @BSchaeffer12, I just put that into the chat on YouTube. Send me a direct message on Twitter or TikTok or wherever you want to let me know that you want to join a league, because I may have some space available in some leagues still. Otherwise, we can do some stuff on Underdog if you want to do some drafts over there, or DK, some head-to-heads. I play a lot of best ball as well. I would love to do some best ball content. I just couldn't get YouTube ever to have people care about the best ball content when I do it. I don't know why. But I'm going to continue to try to build this channel, build up TikTok and other things like that. totally understand what you mean, Aiden. Don't think that Dak is better necessarily, but rather have an undrafted Dak than Goff in round 8. Because in round 8, if you're not spending it on a quarterback, which again, I did the same thing. You could have gone, Mark Andrews, ETN, Tyler Warren, Trey Benson. There's other guys that are available there, but that's kind of where it kind of dies off a little bit in terms of extreme value to the draft. So I can understand saying, you know what, these 10 names that went before he took Colson Loveland, he just didn't care about those names because I don't care about 70% of those names. So it's reasonable to say, look, if you're on the clock, rather than draft Brian Robinson because he was top of ADP, you can go, I know I'm stacking Goff. It's exactly what I did with Mahomes because I was looking at that going, I don't know, am I going to take ETN? I don't know that any of these guys are going to be difference makers for my team, but I know Mahomes will. So that's the process there for my thoughts on it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit subscribe and like the channel. Like the